Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah. Good morning. How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Great. So we'll begin today's session then. So we'll start with the mantra only, and eventually you guys will also memorize it. Yeah. So let's sit up on the mats, back and neck straight. Gently close the eyes and start observing the breath. Just stay with the natural flow of the breath. And shift your attention to the body. Check your posture. Back, neck straight. Chin is parallel to the ground. Your weight should be equally balanced on both the hips. And the entire body should be relaxed. And when you feel ready, you can begin to deepen the breath. Just relax the mind and allow the breath to become slow, long, and deep. And when you feel ready, you can start adding internal retention and Kumbha, holding the breath for just 2 seconds after you inhale, and then proceed with the process of exhalation. We'll be chanting Om one time, followed by the mantra, and then you guys can join me for Om and three chant. Let's inhale deeply for Om. Om. Sarve Bhavantu सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः feel the vibration. Join both the palms together and drop both the palms. Place them on the eyes. Very slowly while blinking and looking at the palm. Open up the eye. Come back. The smile. And namaste to everyone. Let us begin today's session. So yesterday we started with the topic of Gyan Yoga. I'll write this down one more time. Jnana. Gyan Yoga. Or we also call it the path of knowledge. Yeah, and you will find this term in a lot of places where it has been called the path of knowledge. And it's very important to understand what they mean when they are using the word knowledge. Okay. So, generally, when we think of knowledge, it is something totally different. It is something that, uh, something that you like. Suppose I'm reading a book, so I'm gaining some knowledge, whatever that book is about, I'm gaining that knowledge. But when we use the word knowledge in Gyan Yuga, we do not mean just that knowledge which you acquire. Okay. It's also the knowledge that you implement. So it turns into wisdom. So knowledge over here has been used in the terms of wisdom. Wisdom is the part where you are able to implement the things and you gain intuitive experience out of something. Okay. So suppose somebody, I'll give you a very common example of this thing. Suppose someone is constantly telling me how something tastes. Suppose it is a sweet and that person is trying to explain to me, this sweet, this is how um, it tastes, this is the exact flavor. But unless and until I do not taste that sweet or taste that food item, I will never know what that person is talking about. I can get an idea about what is being talked of when they are describing their experience, when they are telling me about the sweet. Suppose they tell me about the texture of the sweet, right? So then I will be able to, at least connect it with some other sweet that I've had. Okay, so my brain has the ability to make that connection. So whatever experience I have had, it will start connecting that new experience with that old experience to get a very good idea, to get very close to what is being told to me. Yeah. So especially this happens in philosophy classes a lot. A lot of people, like I will be talking about a lot of things. However, you guys will be perceiving it based on your experience, right? So if I give an example, or if I'm teaching something, you will see how it is applying to your life, what is going on in your life, and where that logic is fitting in. You will try to draw upon some instances that happened with you to gain a better understanding of that thing. But then again, tasting that sweet will totally change your experience, right? So when you go into meditation, then you actually experience the impermanence of things, or whatever has been talked of in philosophy classes, that you'll experience in meditation classes. So that is when you get to taste the sweet, right? So when you taste that, when you touch that point where you come to this aha moment in your own meditation, that okay, this is going on. So that intuitive experience, that taste of the sweet, is what is being referred to when knowledge is used. So knowledge is used, like, the scope of the word knowledge is very wide. It's not just restricted to you know gaining some knowledge or trying to understand something. Okay, so it's very essential to understand that even though most translations will say path of knowledge, it is knowledge with different qualities that has been talked of in Gyan Yuga. Okay, so this yoga has also been mentioned, of course, in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita mentions all four schools of yoga. So Gyan Yoga has been talked of in the fourth chapter. So chapter 4 discusses Gyan Yoga in a very general context, like Krishna ji introduces the concept of Gyan Yoga. And in the upcoming chapters, chapter 7 and chapter 16, also you will find some mention of Gyan Yoga. Okay. So it is diving deeper, it is taking some other aspect of Gyan Yoga and explaining that, like Krishna ji explains those things in those chapters. If you would have done the homework of writing down the names of the chapters, you would see that it has been mentioned in a few places, right? In a few chapters, something related to Gyan has been mentioned. So, a general overall view introduction of Gyan Yuga has been given in the fourth chapter, where he tells Arjun about um, you know Gyan Yoga and how it has the ability to transform any person. And once that knowledge like rises from within, the knowledge of the self, then it has immense power. Like it has the power to burn away all the past, uh, the karma totally changes, because now you become aware of the inner self. Okay, so that is the ability of Gyan Yoga. Okay, he has emphasized on the practice of wisdom. Okay, so when you read Bhagavad Gita, when you get time to read Bhagavad Gita, that is when you can delve into depth about what Krishna ji has said about these things. Okay, about the whole part of Gyan Yoga. The main premise of Gyan Yoga, it is very important to understand that thing. So, like I told you, somebody who has, yesterday also I talked about, like, a person is born a Gyan Yuga. Okay, so if I tell you some truth, suppose I say, suffering is the truth of life. Buddha ji himself laid out four truths of life, and one of them is suffering is the truth. It's a truth of life. Okay, so when we hear this, okay, we will have an aha moment. Okay, everything is suffering, and we will understand it in our own context also. Okay, this is suffering, that is also suffering. But like I mentioned earlier also, that realization will come and eventually it will go away for us. Okay, so suppose for 5-10 days we will function in a particular manner. It happens a lot of times that students come over here, they practice yoga, and after they go back to their normal lives, they continue for a while and then they end up leaving the practice. Yeah, it is very common. Okay, so why is that happening? Because in-depth understanding hasn't been there. When you are like understanding when you're hearing something, some level of aha moment has come, but it isn't in depth. Okay, so the Gyan Yogi functions from the mind. One thing, understands the power of the mind, and doesn't oppose the mind. So mind has this, mm, uh, what is it called? This habit of analyzing everything. So Gyan Yogi uses this as a power. Okay. So the analytical power of the mind is used by the Gyan Yogi in order to proceed on the path. Okay. But that deep realization will only come with a lot of meditation. So one part of Gyan Yoga is actually meditation. Okay. When I tell you about the various uh, the core practices, one of them is actually meditation. Okay, so Gyan Yogi also meditates, see, and lot of reading up is coming, and action is also there for a Gyan Yogi. They are constantly working on themselves, right? So all the paths, there is faith also when they are following this path. They need to develop that virtue of having faith over their practice and the guru. So Bhakti Yoga also comes in somewhere. So all of these things will go hand in hand. When you begin with the path of Gyan Yoga also, everything will go hand in hand. Okay. And main premise is that the main cause of suffering is ignorance. They call it avidya. Okay. Avidya, basically lack of knowledge or ignorance. And this forms the main reason for one suffering because one is unaware of their true nature. Okay. And then developing vivek or discrimination is the way out of it. Okay. So avidya is Avidya and vivek is Vivek. So working on developing discrimination, what is right, what is wrong. More than that, what is real, what is unreal. So the Gyan Yogi will go deeper. So right, wrong is very surface level, right? But going deeper into the reality of one's own being, how one is, what one is. Who am I? This question. The Gyan Yogi aims to answer this question. And, understanding what is permanent, what is impermanent, and actually understanding it. So, right now, we live our lives in a way where we think, we are going to have this life like forever, right? We make decisions on those basis that, you know, we're not going to age or we're not going to, we're going to live a very long life. And whenever you talk to someone, they will never like the idea of death is just, we just don't talk about it, right? Most places you will see, they're not talking about, the ending of human life, even though it is a truth that whoever is born is going to die one day, right? It is true for everyone. Even trees which live for ages and ages, they also die after a lot of years. They have a long life, but they die after that, right? So everything that has come on this earth is going to die one day. And death is something which we fear, and it's not talked of generally, which is not okay. I mean, because we see death as a very depressing or sad topic. However, it is the reality of life, right? So the sooner we come to that acceptance, the better decisions we will be able to make in life. You will see a lot of people like, let me take a very simple example, people saving up. So I'm not saying saving up is bad, but they save in a way where they think that they're going to need all of it at one point of time. but now is not that time. Yeah. So, you know, it has to be a balance. Now is also important and future is also important. But most decisions we make in life, you can just analyze this today. Take 5-10 minutes, sit with yourself and analyze this. That whenever you make decisions, what is the frame of mind with which you are making decisions? You know, is it like because subconsciously only, unconsciously, subconsciously, we make decisions considering that life is going to be very long, right? But that is not the case. We never really know, right? So we make most of our decisions on those bases, and it isn't very helpful. I'm not saying that it's not prudent to save money. It is, of course, prudent to, make certain decisions on this basis that, there are many years ahead of us. But then compromising on today is also not worth it, right? Because this time will never come back. So the Gyan Yogi is actually able to understand these things. And because the person is able to intuitively, with experience, understand this thing, their way of life changes. Okay, you will see a lot of people who leave behind whatever they have been doing to step into something completely different. Why is this happening? Why are so many people leaving, whatever they have been doing to go for something which doesn't have, in the material sense, wouldn't have that much output, but still they are going ahead with those decisions, completely changing whatever they have been doing for their entire life. Some people change careers after 15, 20 years of dedicating their life to that career. So why is this happening? Because there is something which they understand deeply now, and that caused them to shift that. So in the same way, when you meet a Gyan Yogi, you will see how that person, because they developed that understanding, completely changed their lifestyle, completely changed their way of being, of existing, because now they understand. Yeah. So that is actually what happens when you walk on the path of Gyani. And then there is this concept of Maya also. When you read about Gyani, you will come across this term Maya, Maya, or illusion. No? So it is something which keeps you trapped in this material world, right? So again, understanding of what is real and what is unreal. So Gyan Yogi strongly understands and believes that Atman, or your individual consciousness, is the only truth, reality. And the concept of Brahma also comes in, where, God, I can say, or superior energy is also present. So those are realities for the Gyani, not uh, you know uh, having a perfect job or having the perfect life. Those are not realities for a Gyani. Those are phases of life which will pass. Yeah, they will also change. Things will eventually change, turn. A lot of directions. Life takes a lot of directions. So the Gyan Yogi understands that this is natural, that this has to happen because nothing is constant. Okay. So Maya is something which the Gyan Yogi is very aware of and is very like um uh, has to be very careful of, because he understands that there is some illusion which is trying to again and again pull him back to this world. Pull him back to this world, meaning that pull him away from his sadhana. Okay. So it's said that even when Siddharth Gautam, he sat for, finally he took a pledge. Before he got liberated, he took a pledge that now I'm not going to move unless and until I'm liberated, unless and until I gain that um, final knowledge. Okay, so he decided upon that and he sat. He sat under the Bodhi tree and he started meditating. And when when Maya saw that he was trying to get liberated, so each and every challenge and each and every temptation came in front of him to distract him from his path. But he had made such a strong determination that he was going to get up or, you know, not disturb his sadhana unless and until he reaches the final goal. But for him also, Maya came in, the illusion, um, the temptations of life or the worldly existence came in for him also. And because he had taken such a strong determination, he did not get trapped in those things. But a lot of people lose their way. So, uh, starting the path, getting initiated on the path is not that tough. But remaining on that path becomes very tough. Okay. So, the Gyan Yogi is very aware of these things and he or she aims to just, you know, focus on the practice. Okay. So there are four pillars of Gyan Yoga, four main pillars of Gyan Yoga, which form the foundation of your practice. Okay, after you work on these four pillars, developing these four pillars, that is when you can go ahead and step into the core practices of Gyan Yoga. Okay, so I'm going to write these down for you. You guys can note these, and then I'll explain them. Okay, so they are called sadhana chatushti. Sadhana Chatushta. Any doubt so far? What is the path of Gyan Yoga, or how? Like I'm telling you the practices now, like what are the practices, but apart from that, the entire understanding of Gyan Yoga. Any doubts? Okay. So let's proceed with the first. When the Gyan Yogi, starts on the path, what are they supposed to do? So first they have to work on these four pillars. The first one is again Vivek or discrimination. So the Gyan Yogi is constantly working on developing Vivek or discrimination. The person is reading books, the person is, uh, going across texts, trying to understand what is being said, trying to acquire as much knowledge as possible in order to develop this discrimination, this power of discrimination. Okay? So constantly working on developing this thing, so it will not come naturally, it will not come just like that. They go into a lot of reading, trying to understand what is being said. So if you or someone who is currently in this process, they have already started their journey on of Gyan Yoga, where they are using this not to intellectualize things, to just for the sake of reading, that they have read so many things, so many books. They're actually trying to develop the power of discrimination when they are doing that. So the purpose is totally different. Okay. So if you know of someone, or if you are that person who loves to read a lot. So uh, just the intention of that reading changes now. It's not just to acquire, to, put a tick on your bucket list that I've read these many books or I know about this thing. It's actually a much deeper, the purpose is much more deep than uh, what a normal person aims to do. And over here, you go into reading scriptures, into books which are actually in alignment with the laws of the universe, which are actually trying to elaborate on those things. So, reading fiction books, reading all of these things are actually kept aside, and main focus becomes uh, uh, getting to know about the ultimate reality. That is the main thing that you are reading up about. Okay, which leads us to the second practice, which is vairagya. Vairagya or discrimination. So I think we have discussed this one before also, abhyas and vairagya, when I talked of it in the uh, Patanjali Yoga Sutra class. So vairagya is developing the detachment. Okay, a sense of detachment. When you get the awareness that everything around you, it's temporary, or your main purpose is to seek the uh, um, true self, to understand your true nature. That is when you will not end up getting attached to external things. Okay, so when you deeply understand this thing, again, it doesn't come that easily. And of course, just by reading you will be motivated for a while and then you'll forget again, but the gyan yogi will have this discrimination, right? Will feel that internally. So when you get on this path, this, vairagya also starts to develop, and then you work on it, work on developing it more and more. Okay, so once I know that there is no purpose of a certain thing, that is when I will actually become detached to it. Suppose earlier you used to use a particular product, right? For some reason, you used to use a particular product. And now what happens is, suppose you do not have to do that thing anymore, or you uh, do not feel the need of doing that thing, or whatever, for whatever reason you were consuming that thing, now the need has gone away, so you stop consuming that thing, right? So same thing is happening when you become aware of uh, the fact that nothing external to you, deeply become aware of this thing, that nothing external to you will impact you in that manner, or getting attached to something external to you will only harm you, because they are also subject to change, you are also subject to change, situations will also change, you will also change. So when you understand this deeply, naturally a sense of detachment will come in. So this is not forced at all. Okay, so this will only come when you are actually able to acquire whatever is being said properly. Okay? So you don't have to work towards it, it will develop on its own. The only work you need to put in is to keep your, I would say, be devoted to the path. So you're not, basically, if I take the example of reading books only, so now you're not reading fiction books anymore. You are mostly focused on reading about um, the truth of our nature, right? So the you just have to keep the direction of your energy in that flow where you are going, proceeding on the path of Gyan Yoga, and you're not distracted from it. Okay, that is the effort you put in. But Vairagya is supposed to come very naturally, and you yourself will feel that earlier you used to react so much to certain things, and now you're not. So with time, this will also start to happen because there is a sense of detachment now, because there is a sense of deeper understanding. Now your reaction to things will reduce. So suppose you earlier, if something was not done, you used to get very angry. Now the anger will at least begin to reduce. You won't get triggered that easily. Okay. So then next thing that comes in is the development of six virtues. It's called Shad Sampat. Shat Sampat. SAM. Sorry, the K is not there. So then after the Gyan Yogi has started on the path where they are now working on their discrimination, which is leading to uh, Viragya is not discrimination, Viragya is detachment, sorry. Yeah. So, and as the discrimination develops, then you start working on these six virtues. There are six virtues that a Gyan Yogi is said to develop to prepare them for the core practices of Gyan Yoga. Okay. So first one is sorry, SAM. Shama or control of mind. Then we have Dhamma, that is the control of senses. Then we have Parthi, withdrawal of senses. Then we have Titiksha, which is tolerance. Then we have Shraddha, and last we have Samadhan. one-pointedness. These are the six virtues: Shama, Dama, Uparti, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhi. So you can write these down and I'll explain them one by one. Okay, so I'll start with the explanation. So first one is Shama, which is also called control of senses. The Gyan Yogi is constantly working on developing a control on the mind. So, like I told you when we were talking about Vivek, also, sorry, yeah, Vivek, that now you are not reading all the books out there, you are reading the books which you find the most relevant, which are the books related to the truth of the reality, right? So same thing is happening when you are in the practice of Shama. You are controlling the mind. So by controlling the mind, it means that you are basically making your environment such your everything that you do during the day. Most of those things, at least for a beginner, trying to work step by step and reaching to a point where most of the day is directed towards the practice of Gyan Yoga, where naturally the control of mind, like this is the way in which you control the mind. So you're not forcing yourself, okay? You're not forcing yourself in this, but you are just simply changing your environment. When you change your environment, then the entire energy will be directed in that place only. Okay. And whenever the mind wanders, because the mind has the tendency to wander away, you are bringing it back to the, whatever you are doing, you are fully engaging in that, bringing your mind back to, whatever you are reading or whatever practice of Gyan you are performing at that point of time. Bringing the mind back again and again is actually developing that control over the mind. Okay. So that you are not allowing it to go in 10 different directions now, or for us it goes in, you know millions of directions. The mind has a tendency to jump from one thought to the other, right? So now we are just totally cutting off everything and directing the mind towards the practice of Gyan, okay? Which will then lead you to the point where you are able to control your senses also. So Dhamma, the next stage, which the Gyan Yogini develops and works upon constantly, is the control of senses also. So once the mind is a little bit stable, it is a little bit controlled, then it becomes easier for you to control your senses also, right? So suppose your mind is like, so let me take this very common example. When we are disturbed, like some people like to Netflix, some people like to, eat a lot, indulge in a lot of eating or XYZ thing. So that is when the mind is not in a position to gain control over the senses. Wherever the senses want to go, they run away to that place, and because the mind doesn't have that kind of energy, the mind is unable to control the senses. So it's nobody's fault. Willpower depletes after a while, and we need to constantly recharge that. That is why we sleep, eat, everything. All of these things will have an impact on your willpower during the day. Okay, so that thing is happening. So when the mind is controlled, you will also be able to go into the next process of controlling the senses. Okay, if the mind is not controlled, it will be hard for you to control this one, because you are not present, and second of all, you won't have the willpower. If you, even if you are over there, you would not want to do those things, right? Because your mind is not in a place of stability. So it leads you to controlling the senses also. Mind becomes stable. So the Gyan Yogi proceeds with controlling the senses. So now everything that is happening around them, now they're actually able to engage their mind properly, and as a result, stop their senses from running after pleasures, or running after just anything or everything that crosses their path. Okay, which leads to the next stage where the Gyan Yogi now becomes um, capable of withdrawing the senses. So once there is some sense of control that you gain over your senses, okay, when you reach that stage, that is when you will be able to give them direction and direct them inwards rather than running behind the external object. You will be able to direct them in. So the third stage, which is uparti, that takes place. Okay, and you withdraw the senses. So you are basically working on preparing yourself to go into internal practices only. Okay, then the next virtue that you have to work on developing is tolerance. Okay, so when I talked of bhakti yoga also, I might not have mentioned it, or I might have. But the concept of sacrifice is also very important over there. Sacrifice and then tolerance. Both these things are very important, because for anything great that you have to achieve, there is always a sense of sacrifice that is involved. Suppose you have set a goal for yourself, okay? So you have to crack some exam, or, you know, uh, crack some interview, right? So that is when you will cut off everything. You might even cut off from the people in your life, because now your target is to achieve that thing. So knowingly, unknowingly, you are also sacrificing something at that point of time. And that sacrifice, the sacrifice that you make, allows you to be more focused on your path, right? So the sense of sacrifice and the sense of tolerance, both of them are very important things that you have to work on. When we have to achieve, if we are going for some material goal, suppose this exam or interview only, then also we have to sacrifice. So the path of spirituality is much above the material things you have to attain. So there is going to be a much higher sacrifice, one thing, and the tolerance also has to be much more. Okay, so developing that sense of tolerance will help you to stabilize the mind. Now, earlier you were distracted by 10 things and you were easily irritated by those things. But as you develop this sense of tolerance, you will see that you are not disturbed that easily now. Okay, and that's the whole point of developing tolerance, because the mind has the tendency to go in a space where it is constantly criticizing and constantly going for the negativities. So suppose you go to a new place, so first thing that most people observe is what they are not getting, right? So the Gyan Yogi turns this attitude of the mind. He understands that this is the natural tendency of the mind to run after, to just always observe what is not there instead of seeing what is there. Okay. So, and because he develops a sense of tolerance, he is not impacted by those things that much. Okay. So these are very small things that we get disturbed over. I wouldn't even say small, but when the yogi also faces a lot of difficulties. Whenever we talk of yoga or mention the name of a yogi, we only see peace and calmness on their mind. A person who is sitting meditating is very peaceful and calm, but they are choosing to be that in that situation. The yogi doesn't, the yogi walks from one place to another. So much walking they do, it's very hard, and they don't even know if they will get food or they won't get food. So we will be easily disturbed by these things, if we are not getting our meals on proper time, and if we are not eating 3 times in a day, we get disturbed over these things. but the yogi doesn't even know where the food is going to come from, doesn't know where they're going to, they keep walking. They do not know if during night they're going to, how the night is going to be, if they're going to find proper shelter or not. But regardless of so many big difficulties that they face, they have this look of peace and calmness. So they are choosing it somewhere. Yeah, they are understanding that if they want to look towards the negative side, there are a pool of things that are ready to, capture their energy. But they understand that it's not worth their time and effort, right? So their time is very precious, their energy is very precious, and they want to direct it towards the final goal. So it's not that they are not facing difficulties, but they have developed so much tolerance. Yeah, because they have trained their mind in such a way, they have developed so much tolerance that it doesn't impact them any. Okay, so developing tolerance is a very important virtue for any yogi, and especially in Gyan Yoga, it is considered to be one of the um, main virtues out of the six virtues. Okay, then you move to the next stage, which is Shraddha. So nobody is ever able to proceed on their path if they don't have faith towards something that they are doing. So towards their practice and towards their guru. Both are very important when you are on the path of yoga. Okay, if you do not believe in yourself, in your practice, and in your guru, all three are very necessary for you to proceed on your path. Otherwise, either you will go into self criticism, you will be like, you know what, I cannot practice this, or this is too much for me, and you will leave your practice. Or you will doubt the technique itself. You will be like, you know what, this technique doesn't work. I sit in meditation every day, my mind runs away every day. I've experienced so much pain. This meditation thing, this is not going to work for. So you lose faith and then you lose the practice, right? And if you do not trust your teacher is telling you to do something, your guru is telling you to do something, and you do not trust in that, you will never end up following. Okay, guru is saying every day, guru is saying, repeating. So let's do it because right now we are enrolled for this course. So, okay, our teacher is saying do this. Right now we're enrolled for the course. Let's try, let's do it. It's our homework. But later on, because you do not believe in that thing, you won't be able to follow up on. And the opposite also happens. Sometimes students, like when the teacher tells the student to do something, they actually see the benefit of that thing and they end up following that practice for the rest of their life. So it happens both ways. So having faith in the practice is very important for you to move ahead in your path of yoga. Okay, so it's already 12. Yeah, so tomorrow we will discuss Samadhan, finish the four pillars, and then we will work on the three main practices of Gyan Yoga, the core practices. Okay. Any doubts in anything we have discussed? No?
Gee, I don't have any doubts. But I was wondering, can you recommend a Bhagavad Gita? I've got one by Prabhupada and one by Eknath Eswaran. Do you have one that you would recommend in English?
Okay, in English, I recommended when I took the class Gita Press Gorakhpur, but you will only find translations over there. Like the thick book is this thick. Okay, if you want to go for deep uh,
Okay.
understanding, but if you want to go for just the translations, complete Bhagavad Gita, just get an overall idea of the book. So Gita Press Gorakhpur, there is this published.
Okay.
I will just write down the name also for you.
Actually, I think you might have mentioned this before. So
Yeah.
yeah. I'll
Their,
I'll go back through my notes. Yeah.
their translations are pretty accurate. So it's good to go for that first, and then you can go into interpretations also. Then you will find multiple authors. And even this Gita Press Gorakhpur also has, trans longer. There's a thicker book. with deep interpretation of the shlokas. That is also there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so let's end the session with just Om Shanti because you have your next class. So Om Shanti to everyone. I will see you in the evening for your pranayam class. Okay. So bye bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.